Hi folks, Puffin here with your Antifa News Briefer for April 13th, 2022. President Joe Biden gave a speech a few days ago, apparently about Ukraine. I didn't hear the speech. I heard NPR's breakdown of the speech on their show, The Daily, from the New York Times, I think. And in it, they were talking about how Biden did not mention climate change in his speech, that instead he mentioned drilling for oil, I guess. And this idea, the analysts talking about the speech were discussing how Democrats and Republicans are now racing to see which one can say they're going to drill for oil more to try to appeal to that response to Putin's invasion of Ukraine, saying that instead of buying Russian oil, they'll drill for more oil. Now, as soon as this idea comes up, smart people will tell you it doesn't really help, because if you start drilling for oil now or open up wells or whatever, that oil still doesn't come to market for months. It doesn't help the immediate situation. Of course, what would have already helped the immediate situation and will help the future, will help today and tomorrow and would have helped in the past, is if we'd already gone green. Now, what really made me inspired to make this video is how the news analysts were explaining Biden not going in a green direction instead of going towards oil. Now, of course, one explanation would be simply be that they have oil lobbies paying a lot of money to make sure that they don't go in the green direction, that they only go towards oil. But that's the obvious explanation. They were explaining it in some way that seemed to blame American stupidity, which my response to that is to say, well, hey, media, if you're the mass media and you're trying to explain this stuff and your summary is Americans are too stupid to understand it, that's partly your job. You could have been doing a better job educating Americans if we're too stupid to understand simple principles. Now, the simple principle they were explaining is that 20, 30 years ago, politicians were trying to tell people we need to get off of oil and onto green energy to save the environment, of course, but also to diminish our reliance on tyrannical nations. Now, when you think about it, it's really simple. Democratic, educated populations aren't going to let their governments drill for oil because we, the people, understand that drilling for oil is a dead end, like a literal dead end. Like, first of all, it's over. Secondly, it's going to kill us all if we keep drilling for oil and polluting the planet this way. So any educated, non-corrupted voting society that can actually vote for who they want, please run again Bernie or AOC, please primary Biden. All you got to do is say I'll arrest Trump. But any functioning democracy will not allow rulers who allow much oil drilling. Now, we still allow a lot because we're corrupt in USA. And of course, autocratic countries like Putin in Russia drill for oil. And it's going to be only autocratic countries that drill for oil as time goes on, because the populations will hopefully exert a pressure to keep the rulers from drilling for oil. That's only natural. And of course, the populations in doing that will switch people to green energy, as they have done in many countries. But for instance, if Germany had done this years ago, they wouldn't be the big holdout buying most of the Russian oil now, being the ones funding Putin's genocide and atrocities in Ukraine. So it's good that we stop funding it, but we need to go green to stop funding it. Why isn't Joe Biden doing that? According to the NPR reporter, it's because after 20 or 30 years after we first tried that pitch and it didn't go over so well politically, apparently, or they didn't really try it or something, now it's too much trouble to explain. It's too complicated to explain to the, according to NPR, stupid American people that, hey, if you get off of oil completely, you won't be relying on dictators anymore. Oh, that's a two-step process. Make the green energy system, don't buy any more oil, don't rely. It's not really that hard to explain. You just explained it in 5 seconds. But if you've been driving that point home all the time and making the argument correctly and not trying to give equal time to the liars who just lie about it, we would have already gone green a long time ago. We wouldn't have these problems. We wouldn't have these dictators. And we wouldn't have these oil barons dictating American policy to where we're compromising with, or in this case, competing with Republicans to see who can try to say they're going to pump more oil. It's not what we need for the planet. The people know this. Again, if we were able to vote for who we want, the government would reflect that too, and we would have already moved on to green energy. And this isn't a threat to the oil companies, the energy industry, energy workers. You'll all have better jobs in green energy. We'll all have a better life with green energy. And the real truth is we need to go ahead and repurpose militaries to converting everything to green energy, because we need a massive effort to do it. And when we do that, there'll be real heroes. People will have plenty of good jobs that are helping the world. And we'll all look back on this time like we're some types of barbarians and that we were dangerously close to destroying the planet. Also with nuclear. We need to skip all that evil stuff and move on to green energy. And we need presidents who are going to go ahead and speak up for it and lead us into that instead of trying to chase some trends or compromise or whatever, when what we need is the truth, not compromising with lies. And the truth is, the future is green, and whoever goes there will be leading the rest of the world, so rich from doing it as well. Let's all work together to do it. We don't need to be in competition. We can all be in cooperation.